Hi, good morning. Let me talk to you regarding COVID, its impact on the global trade, shipping in general, and container shipping in particular. COVID had its origin in China, and China went into a lockdown for a couple of months' time. And when they reopened the factories, rest of the world either went into a total lockdown or partial lockdowns, hitting the economies very badly. Initial estimates indicate that US volume contracted by almost 20% and Europe volumes contracted by almost 23%. And this may be because of the temporary mismatch between China being the manufacturer of the world and Europe and US being the major consumers of the finished products manufactured in China. So the volume and Europe and US are together consuming, they constitute a larger chunk of the ship space. And these are the economies, the major economies of the world, constituting almost 60% of the global GDP, both Europe put together and US added to it. Now it created a mismatch in the ship's capacity versus the demand. It means that there is a more capacity available in the water which cannot be deployed profitably with cargoes on board because there are no cargoes, there are no demand for cargoes. So naturally shipping lines found out a solution to it in order to idle the vessels. And they do it collectively under the umbrella of alliances. So many of these vessels, almost 13% of the global capacity as per the latest data, are idling. There are fleets which are idling now, and they do it either by voiding the vessel calls, cancelling some ports, and delaying the delivery of the new ships, or even slow steaming the ships. Let me also tell you why shipping lines are idling the vessels, how it makes sense to them. They are idling the vessels with the two intentions. Number one is to hold the freight rates as it is, and secondly, to cut down on the cost, optimizing the resources, the network resources, as well as optimizing on the ship's space within themselves. But is it a long-term solution? No, never. It is a short-term fix because the ships which are idling are also carrying cost. There is an investment that is at idle, and they are investing money, they are spending money for the purpose of getting a return on capital employed or getting adequate return on their assets. In the long time, they will have to redeploy those ships in the markets as they are evolving. Now, what is the challenge forward? I see the greatest challenge for the shipping in the longer term is that if the factories are shifting their base and plants from China into rest of the nations in Asia or into their own countries, that will be a challenge for the shipping lines because most of the ships are designed keeping in mind the volume that the Chinese ports are able to supply to the rest of the globe. So ship sizes are made accordingly at this point in time. They may have to redesign or re-engineering the shipping once again with some radical changes going forward. In the immediate terms and on the mid-terms, shipping lines will move into more digital format, more efficient way of managing their assets with better forecasting. They will become more dependent on machine learning and artificial intelligence, using them as a tools to forecast, because shipping is also a business of forecasting. They will be able to better plan their assets and deploy the capacities dependent on a better forecast. Let me talk to you something about India's story. India is also more or less in line with the global trend. We went into a lockdown last week of March, and as a result, while the import volume continued unabated. Naturally, because once the journey starts from the origin ports, the flow has to be maintained. So they will have to be unloaded in the port. They will have to be moved into the CFSs. Exports completely declined or dried up because of the lockdown. And when exports started, there are no boxes because most of the boxes have to come in which have to be destuffed. The containers needed to be cleared by the importers, and the boxes needed to be available as empties for exporters to pick up. Now exports are affected because there are no boxes, and secondly there are void calls from the shipping line standpoint. There are cancellation of port calls, and there are some amount of uncertainty and unpredictability with regard to the ship availability and scheduled integrities. So this is a challenge that the supply chain partners are facing now. I mean the supply chain partners, the terminal operators, and container freight stations and ICDs and even container yards are coping up with this uncertain challenges. It is putting added stress onto them. Take for example Navasheva terminal system. The whole of Bombay is affected by COVID. Naturally, the areas of the container freight stations, the workers are not available. The drivers of most of the migrant laborers, they have vacated the place. There are no drivers, there are no workers, shortage of workers, and containers are bound to get stuck in the port system, within the terminal as well as in the CFS is concerned. So it causes a total cyclical impact on the supply chain system. Unless the boxes are available, exporters are not able to pick it. And it is costly for the shipping lines to bring in empties from somewhere else and carry the cargo. So there must be a sort of a new ecosystem that must be evolved, and these ports needed to be coming out of the current mess as quickly as possible.